player of the year leaderboard on Mono Red Sneak Attack, playing against Jeff Folinus on Miracles. Both players are 11-3. Both players will have a shot at top 8 if their tiebreakers hold. If they win this match, good luck to both players. Let's see what happens. Jeff is going to start off. Well, Jeff Folinus, we've got two Jeffs here, is going to start off sacrificing a Flooded Strand, falling to 19. We'll get a basic island and cast a copy of Ponder. See if he keeps them or ships them.
And like we've seen so many times before, for the most part, this Miracles deck, it just wants to stay alive and develop its mana base on the opening turns. Jeff Hoogland, on the other side, is going to be looking to do something really powerful on the opening turns, preferably something that can just outright win him the game or develop some sort of huge advantage. And then he's going to look to either win the game there, or hopefully just repeatedly jam things that must be countered over and over and over again. One of the things that's a little interesting about Jeff's deck is that once he gets his initial combo accelerants like Sneak Attack countered, or his rituals, he does have the option to just make a bunch of land drops and start hard casting cards like Godo, Bandit Warrior, Inferno Titan, and Batterskull. So he will have probably a little bit more staying power than your average Sneak and Show deck if things go awry.
All right, well, Jeff is going to start out with a Chalice of the Void for 2 on turn 1. Jeff Folinus is going to counter it, falling to 18, using Force of Will, pitching a counterbalance.
And that would have been a good play. That would have been one of the great ways that Jeff would have had to disrupt Jeff Folinus. That Chalice on 1 would have countered potential Sensei's Divining Tops and cantrips.
All right, well, we're going to get a Blood Moon from Jeff. That's going to keep his City of Traders around. It's also going to shut off fetch lands for Jeff Folinus, so he's not going to have easy access to white mana or any more blue mana unless he just draws those basics. So this may not seem like it's going to do a whole lot in the face of Island from Jeff Folinus, but it is going to constrict his ability to find white mana on demand, as well as shuffle his deck to get new looks with Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, this Blood Moon hitting play right now, it does a lot to decrease the value of not only Sensei's Divining Top, but Brainstorm also, and Jace the Mind Sculptor.
All right, well, both players are just playing draw go with no action. Jeff Folinus does have 2 copies of Counterbalance. Jeff Hoogland is up to 3 mana, though.
And Jeff's kind of okay with this.
Ooh, he just found a Seething Song. This could get some fireworks. Ooh, a Counterbalance on top does not stop it. Here's a Batterskull. We've got a trigger. He's going to get a Brian Braun Duin token.
And this is going to be pretty difficult for Jeff to deal with. He doesn't have a really good answer for it. He would prefer to just counter it. He does have 1 Council's Judgment that he can use to kill it. But if Jeff gets to is able to build up this mana, this Batterskull will be an unending threat.
All right, well, Chalice of the Void is going to resolve X equals 1.
And Jeff is slowly locking, or Jeff Hoogland is slowly locking Jeff Folinus out of the game.
Yeah, Jeff Folinus has a bunch of white cards in his hand and no white mana, and any fetch lands can't even find white mana.
Yep.
This Blood Moon is a lot more effective than I gave it credit for.
Well, since the Blood Moon has been cast, Jeff Folinus hasn't actually drawn any fetch lands. Oh, I guess there's one on top. But this is one of the problems that you run into when you have this really high basic land count. Sometimes you actually don't draw the right basics.
Well, Jeff Folinus did find another land here, which will let him cast a Jace the Mind Sculptor. But because Jeff Hoogland played that Simian Spirit Guide, Jeff Folinus can cast the Jace the Mind Sculptor and bounce the Germ token, but now that Spirit Guide can kill the Jace.
Yeah, so this is going to buy Jeff Folinus a little bit of time, but it's not really a winning recipe. He really needs some white mana at this point.
Just got another Blood Moon. Counterbalance will reveal a Force of Will.
Would have really liked to have that Force of Will a little earlier.
Yeah.
That's certainly not a good top deck.
But he does have another Jace, though. This is going to get a little interesting.
This will.
If Jeff Folinus can find a basic Plains to turn on cards like Swords to Plowshares and Monastery Mentor, This game might get out of reach for Jeff Hoogland real quick.
A Brainstorm would also allow him to set the top card of his library, which would be a pretty advantageous thing to do as well. And even if Jeff Folinus doesn't find an answer for the Simian Spirit Guide, the Simian Spirit Guide can attack Jace down to 1, but then the Jace can just continually Fate Seal one of the players in order to stay alive despite that Simian Spirit Guide.
All right, Jeff's going to put 2 cards back with his Seething Song, or with his Jace the Mind Sculptor. Simian Spirit Guide is going to attack Jace down to 1, pass the turn back. Jeff Folinus is going to draw a Mentor for the turn. We're just going to get a Fate Seal. Is he going to hit Jeff Hoogland? Looks like he is.
I almost would have
if
liked
that's
to
a land,
see,
what do you do with it?
you know, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I would also be interested in potentially using the Jace to Fate Seal Jeff Folinus, simply so that I could dig deeper into my deck for a basic plains.
Jeff Hoogland did find another land. Sandstone Needle.
So to be fair, this Miracles deck only has 2 basic planes, so it is fairly unlikely that he just naturally draws one. So Fate Sealing himself to speed that up seems like a good idea to me. And Jeff Hoogland is just 1 land away from equipping Batterskull onto this ape and making sure that it can finally finish off this Jace.
All right.
Oh, and now this is great because this ponders a shuffle effect. But unfortunately, it gets countered.
Yep, Jeff Hoogland is not going to forget his Chalice of the Void trigger.
Sometimes you just got to try.
We just have this song and dance back and forth with this Simian Spirit Guide. However, once Jeff Hoogland can start trying some lands, Inferno Titan is a big card. All right, we're just going to get a discard on these Swords to Plowshares. Ooh, there's another Simian Spirit Guide. Oh, we're going to equip and then kill the Jace.
There's not a whole lot Jeff Folinus can do about this. He cannot force of will the discard effect on Simian Spirit Guide, and Jeff Hoogland is going to take down that Jace once and for all.
Right, just another uncastable card for Jeff Folinus. You know, I don't want to say I'm anti-Miracles, but it's a little
But you're loving this moment?
It's a little poetic to see the Miracles deck get locked out of casting spells.
Yeah. Between the Blood Moon and the Chalice.
All right, here's the Lotus Petal. Oh, counterbalance.
It's also interesting, too, because Jeff Hoogland is playing kind of an off-the-wall deck. This isn't a stock staple. And we saw Jeff Folinus have access to one of his early fetch lands and use it to fetch a redundant island. Now, if he was really familiar with Jeff Hoogland's deck, he might have chosen to get a different land instead, simply to have a more diverse mana base.
Well, Jeff Hoogland is going to take game 1 here over Jeff Folinus with his mono-red sneak attack deck. Let's take a look at the player sideboards to see if we can figure out just what might be going through their heads as we head into game 2. Jeff Folinus has 2 copies of Pyroblast, 1 Red Elemental Blast, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Wear Tear, 1 copy of Surgical Extraction, a Rest in Peace, 2 Stoneforge Mystic, a Batterskull, 1 Moat, 1 Supreme Verdict, and 1 Blood Moon. What do we think Jeff Folinus is going to do?
So I think this is going to be pretty tricky for Jeff Folinus because I don't think he's particularly familiar with Jeff Hoogland's deck. I think that he's going to be bringing in the Flusterstorms, the Wear Tear, and the Stoneforge Mystics and Batterskulls. I think that there's also a chance that he brings in Moat, but I don't think that he's going to be bringing in any of the other cards.
Well, I can agree with that. On Jeff Hoogland's side, we have 2 Pyrostatic Pillar, 3 Trinisphere, 2 Pyromancy, 2 Sudden Shock, 2 Shattering Spree, 1 copy of Boil, ooh baby, 2 Magus of the Moon, and a Pyroclasm. What do you think Jeff Hoogland's going to do here?
I think he's going to bring in Boil. That is my number 1 pick.
Do you think anything else? Maybe Pyromancy?
Sure.
Do you know what Pyromancy does?
Yeah, it's the 1 red instant.
No.
That has a bunch of different modes, no?
No, it's an enchantment. 2 and 2 red. You can pay 3 colorless, and you pitch a card at random. and you get to deal damage equal to its casting cost to a creature or player.
Sounds pretty good when you're pitching Emrakul.
Yeah, it does. I think we might see Pyromancy coming in. Now, for those of you who are watching on Twitch, I just want to let you know I appreciate you. And coming up after this round, we are going to have the top 8 announced, and you will get to decide the quarterfinals if you are a subscriber. So join the feature match area. You get an exclusive subscriber-only chat, custom emoticons and badge. It's only $4.99 a month. Twitch.tv/SCGLive. Remember, you will be able to vote on which quarterfinal match we broadcast live here on the SCG Live Twitch channel.
Oh yes, we are merely just puppets for your entertainment. You get to decide what we do.
Absolutely. So while the players are finishing up their sideboarding and shuffling here, let's learn a little bit more about the #1 player on our Player of the Year leaderboard, Jeff Hoogland. He is 25 years of age from Bloomington, Illinois. He has 14 open top 8s, 1 invitational top 8. He's a stay-at-home dad with 2 awesome sons and future Magic players. He manages several open source coding projects focusing on Linux, and he has a master's degree in mathematics.
Another one of these math guys. It pays to know your math.
They're all real smart.
It really does.
The thing is, though, when playing decks like this, you don't really have to be a math wizard scientist to know it's good to attack with Emrakul the Eon's Torn.
You don't have to do, but I think you need to be good at math to decide that 2 Emrakul the Aeon's Torn is the right number to have in your deck. I think there's some math involved there.
There is some math involved?
Yeah.
All right, well, it looks like Jeff is going to keep his opener, maybe.
One of my favorite things about Jeff Hoogland is just that he is this very creative deck builder. He's always blazing his own trail in basically every format, doing his own thing, and he's successful with it. You know, a lot of people are doing their own thing, but not all of them are successful with it. Jeff Hoogland, though, is one of the premium brewmasters on the Star City Tour.
He is. Jeff Folinus is going to take a mulligan, go to Paris for a little bit. Jeff Hoogland is going to keep his opener. And I do want to point out, for those of you who watch Jeff's stream very often, he recently had a very long stream with which he hit a goal and had to shave his face. So I don't know if you noticed, but he looks a little more spry now than he did a few weeks ago.
He looks like he just got his driver's license.
He just got that math degree.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and see if Jeff Folinus here can find a keepable 6.
You know, Jeff Folinus is someone that I'm not particularly familiar with, but he's been able to we've seen him on camera a few times now, and he's been able to navigate a lot of the matchups quite well, and he doesn't have any draws, which is always something notable to see a successful Miracles player do.
Well, he has Mentor in his main.
He does have Mentor in the game, but you know, it's not like you just play Mentor and the game ends. We've seen, you know, it's
really
hard. Well, it's hard to figure out the right time to play your Mentor.
Yeah.
You know, we see Harlan basically win a game because he didn't play his Mentor as soon as he could have, and you know, once you do play it, you know, there's a lot of sequencing. The mechanics of the card are a little complicated and take time to execute. So whenever there's a Miracles player who's done well in a tournament and has avoided draws, I feel like that's always something you want to watch out for. It's one of the hallmarks of a good player.
Well, it looks like Jeff Folinus is going down to 5 cards. What does he need to see here to be able to try and pull this game out in 5?
Honestly, the thing that I would most want to see is just fetch land, Sensi's Divining Top. If you can just put that together, you're probably off to the races, and here we go.
All right, we got an Arid Mesa. Is going to knock Jeff Folinus down to 19. He's going to get a basic plains this time, so he's got that covered and going to play Sensei's Divining Top. Let's see if we've got fireworks. Jeff could attack with a World Spine Worm this turn.
He could. I've heard Miracles players joke around that one of their best keeps was just 6 lands Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, the card's great.
It really is, especially with fetch lands.
All right, Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal. He doesn't always have it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
when he
start your
does.
engines.
All right, let's see what Jeff Hoogland's going to do. Lotus Petal. Turn 1 sneak attack.
Wow.
Do you have a Force of Will, my mulligan to 5 friend?
Very fierce.
Does he have a Simian Spirit Guide?
A 3rd Lotus Petal?
Is Jeff Folinus going to draw with his top? He is. Did we hit a Force of Will? It's going to resolve. All right, Jeff Hoogland's going to pass the turn back. game's not over, but this is going to be rough.
Yeah, the game's not over, but Jeff has made not a game-winning move, but a potentially game-winning move.
We have a Ponder here for Jeff Folinus, so he does have a Swords to Plowshares there that he can use if the creature that Jeff is trying to sneak is not Emrakul. He's going to shuffle them away, though. I think he's looking for some way to interact. Looks like Jeff Folinus does have 2 copies of Wear and Tear that he can bring in, and I imagine that's what he's looking for right now.
Yeah, most of the threats that Jeff can put into play, though, are pretty problematic. I mean, it's either Emrakul, Grizzlebrand. Both of those are going to be more than what Swords to Plowshares can handle. On the other side, if it's just something like Inferno Titan or World Spineworn, Swords to Plowshares would line up quite nicely against those.
It looks like Jeff does have a Simian Spirit Guide in his hand, so maybe he just doesn't have a monster worth sneaking on turn 1.
That could be the case.
Divining Top from Jeff Folinus, going to pass back to Jeff Hoogland. He's got a Crystal Vein.
And it almost looked like Jeff drew a Batter Skull there.
He's going to pass the turn back, so Jeff Folinus might have a few turns of reprieve here.
And this is where Jeff Folinus wipes the sweat off of his brow and starts to see some light part in the dark and stormy clouds. Maybe there is a way for Jeff Folinus to bring us to a Game 3.
All right, well, Brainstorm's going to find a way for Jeff Folinus to put a Terminus on top of his deck, if he so chooses, so he has protection here from some kind of monster.
And now if Jeff Folinus can just hit his land drops, you know, he's going to be okay for a little while.
Well, he's going to shuffle with Scalding Tarn. He's going to fall down to 18. He's going to get an island and activate a Sensei's Divining Top. We're looking here for a Wear Tear. I would not be surprised if he finds it. Getting so many looks with Fetch Lands and Divining Top, as we've seen all weekend long, has been a recipe for success.
Indeed. That said, I think it would have been maybe worth considering not cracking the fetch land there, and you know, just so that you had access to the Entreat the Angel should you need it, because a lot of this could probably have been done at the end of Jeff Hoogland's turn.
Well, Jeff Folinus is going to rearrange the top 3 and pass the turn. Jeff Hoogland looks like he just found a copy of World Spineworm.
Rutrow.
Combat, attack you for 15.
And it would be really nice if Jeff Folinus still had access to that.
Terminus.
Yeah.
All right, end step. It's going to shuffle back in. I'm going to get 3/5/5 worms. I think that if Jeff does happen to win the Season 2 Invitational in New Jersey, he should be a 5/5 worm token.
That would be cool. So the dies keyword is very important on this World Spineworm because Swords to Plowshares and Terminus are both clean answers to this card. You always need to take note of when the card says dies rather than says leaves play.
And both Swords to Plowshares and Terminus are cards that Jeff Folinus have seen with Brainstorms and Sensei's Divining Tops, and he decided to shuffle them away.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, Emrakul doesn't really care about Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, and honestly, Grizzlebrand doesn't care a whole lot about it either. Like, you can kill the Grizzlebrand, but they're going to draw as many cards as possible.
Yeah.
And then gain 7 life when the swords resolve. So.
All right. Well, Jeff Folinus is going to look at the top 3 cards of his deck. Does not look like there is a Terminus there.
But if I had to guess, I would assume that for the most part, Jeff Folinus isn't really familiar with Jeff Hoogland's deck. And this is one of the great things about playing a deck that is a little unusual, is you get to catch people by surprise, and Jeff Hoogland has certainly done that with his sneak attack deck.
Well, Jeff Hoogland is going to take this match 2-0, mono red sneak attack over Miracles. Looking at the standings, as long as Jeff Hoogland's tiebreakers hold, he will be in the top 8 of this Legacy Open. This is a format that he has been, very vocal about. He's just not happy with Legacy.